I'm just randomly just live. I don't have that. Well, I don't know. Yes, I can. I can talk about this. Something that I was talking about earlier. Um, some women, if you tell them, like, not, let me start here first, okay? Start from the beginning, from a proper context. There was this woman on TikTok. She said she can't stand when a man approaches her if she's somewhere reading a book, uh, distraction, and then she turned around and took a biblical scripture of Ecclesiastes. It comes from Ecclesiastes chapter 3 as a time and a place for everything, and labeled it to dog men, like to say that if he approached me at the wrong time, it pisses her off and it makes her mad or whatever. And then I put in the comment section, and I think I said, what did I say? I said, well, if you into him, you into him. If you ain't into him, then of course you're gonna be like, whatever, you know. So within me saying that, she said that if somebody tell you or give you a sign that they don't want to talk, which that's what she did. If I'm giving you a certain look and I'm looking at you a certain way, that means I don't want to be bothered, I don't want to talk or whatever. So we take that as selfish attitude or whatever, you know, because no no man, no woman wants a man like that, and no man wants a woman like that. You know what I mean? Because they wouldn't even fit in the caliber of a decent man or a decent woman, no way. If with that type of attitude, you know what I'm saying? Any man or any woman in her decent mind ain't gonna want to date. She gonna want to date somebody that's genuine, somebody that's nice. But I said that when she said there's a time and a place for everything, I think she used that context in a selfish way for the men that she don't want, and the men that she don't want to have nothing to do with. She'll use that context to dog them to say, well, don't approach me at that certain time, this and that and the third. But if it's somebody that you actually really into, you're not going to tell them nothing like that, because you know chances are the relationship ain't going to work if you say some shit like that. So you ain't, first of all, you ain't going to open your mouth to even, if you give a shit about the person that you trying to whatever. And I made a statement. My comeback was this: if I'm into you, I don't give a damn what day or what time it is. I'm not gonna use a context and say, oh, I think it would be fucked up for me to say, oh well, you approached me at the wrong time, and I didn't appreciate you coming here. You approached me the wrong fucking time, and all this kind of shit. If I'm really into the person, it's not gonna matter what time that they approach me. What matters is that we share chemistry. We really we got it. We in that. You know what I mean? We feeling each other. That's what it's all about. If you feeling the individual, if they feeling you and you feeling them, then that's all that matters. You see what I'm saying? But don't take and use context like this dog man say that shit pisses me off for the men that's easy. It's for only the men that you don't want. The just like a woman, a man can have attitude like that toward the woman that he really don't want. So it's easy for him to use them contexts and say, well, don't approach me, that's the wrong goddamn time and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't really matter. If you into him, you into him, and you gonna make it known. And if you into him, you gonna let him know. You gonna make it known. You into him. It ain't gonna matter. You'll say things like, well, you know, you ain't gotta apologize. You know, what matters is we together. It ain't no big deal. You know, we you into me and I'm into you. We got chemistry. We've been knowing each other long enough. Or you know, I like, you know, I ain't gonna lie, I liked you anyway. You know, or something like that. You know, but you ain't just gonna come off the rip and just use context. You gonna only justify and use context as a time and a place for everything for the man or the woman that you don't want, the man that you don't want. You gonna turn around and you gonna use those techniques and say, I can't stand that motherfucker. That motherfucker approached me at this time and at that time, and he approached me and don't do this and don't do that. Yeah, for the men you don't want, just like for the man. Yeah, for the woman that you don't want, you'll mistreat and tell her like I don't like a woman approaching me. That shit is a turn off and all that kind of stuff. But what about the man that you're really into? If you really, if the excuse me, the woman that you're really into, the man ain't gonna do that type of shit. If I'm into you, I know I can speak for myself. If I'm really into you, it ain't gonna matter what time you come around. It ain't gonna matter if it's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. If I'm feeling you, I'm gonna be glad you just showed up. Period. Because we able to see each other. You know. So, with that being said, just because I disagree with the young lady, that doesn't necessarily mean that I got bad comprehension skills. Bad comprehension skills, if somebody tell you that they ain't really into you like that, I'm not feeling you like that, and you say yes you are, that's bad comprehension skills. Comprehension skills. You know what I mean? Don't you know what I mean? That is different. But my situation, just because you don't agree with somebody when they say things like if they got an attitude or something, you don't agree with them how their attitude comes off and like, oh, you approach me at the wrong time and this and that and the third, and they correct and say no, that you know, if you really into somebody, you just into them. If you ain't into them, you ain't into them or whatever. You know, that doesn't make you have bad comprehension skills because you are trying to address what they're saying with the attitude, because no man in his right mind gonna deal with a woman that's got a bad attitude. Just like no woman in her right mind ain't gonna deal with a man who got a fucked up attitude. No. You know, if you got a bad attitude, nobody gonna want to deal with somebody that's got a this fucked up mindset like that. It don't mean that if anything, there's something fucked up about their comprehension skills. If anything, to mistreat somebody like that or to say some shit like that, hell no. So that's how you get an understanding of and break the context down. So I'm up out of here, and I'm gonna see y'all later, and I'll see y'all in the next video. All right.